This is my channel, Ray Tales. This video will be the second campaign diary for my Dragon Heist campaign. The second session was held on 8/4/2022. The PCs involved are Anvil Ironfist, an Azamar Paladin, Karn Bladesong, a Moon Elf blade-singing wizard, Sadek the Angry, a human rogue, Varen Lightfoot, a Wild Elf ranger, Zendrin, a Changeling Forge Domain cleric, and a new character, Xyrus Stormheart, a Leonin druid. The PCs wake up on the second day of Marpanoth, after the tavern brawl from the previous session. The PCs are introduced to Xyrus at breakfast by Durnan. Durnan tells them they might need help, and she appears to be of the same bent as they are, so he thought they would be a good match. I gave XP to the PCs after the first session a little early in the chapter, so they leveled early. Xyrus did not level because she was not at the start of chapter 1. Durnan was able to answer some of their questions about the tavern fight. Durnan told them that there's been some bad blood between the Xanathar Guild and the Zentarum. The fight could have been about that, but he wasn't sure. Durnan also told the PCs that Xanathar members have a circle with 10 equidistant lines radiating out from the center on their bodies. It could be a tattoo, a branding, etc. It really didn't matter. Durnan also mentions the Zentarum have a tattoo of a winged serpent on their bodies. Found out as a report, Durnan informs the PCs that there are two factions of the Zentarum, but he isn't sure how to tell them apart from each other. The PCs have breakfast, they meet Xyrus, and then they leave the yawning portal and head to the Skewered Dragon, which was the last known location that Floon was seen with Volo 3 days ago. As they were traveling through Waterdeep on their way to the dock ward, the PCs approach the aftermath of a conflict between the Xanathar Guild and the Zentarum in the Blood in the Streets encounter. The PCs were interested as they were told to get along by the city watch officer, but the PCs gathered as much information as they could as they were forced past the cordoned area by the crowd surrounding them. Information gathered from the Blood of the Streets was the city watch had 3 Zentarum in custody. The 3 gave the PCs dirty looks as they walked past them. The PCs were also able to surmise that the dead were killed by piercing and slashing weapons. By that time, the crowd had pushed the PCs past the cordoned off area. So the PCs decided to head into the densely packed tenements of the dock ward, where they see the squalid conditions and the rampant vandalism that occurs in the streets in the dock ward. One building caught their attention, and it had a stuffed beholder in the window. And the PCs chose to enter the old Zoblob shop. As the PCs entered the old Zoblob shop, they were greeted by an old gnome wearing purple robes, smoking a pipe, and had his cheeks covered in 9 purple face-painted tattoos. The shop was filled with this lavender-scented smoke, and they were met with a "Hail and well met. Come browse the shelves of the most curious curiosity shop in the world." He's learned that the gnome's name was Zoblob, and he isn't related to the stuffed beholder in the window. Varen buys an empty purple perfume bottle that has some fragrance left in it to get Zoblob talking to the group. So the PCs also learn a little bit about who he is in relationship with the Xanathar Guild. And he was talking about Floon and a well-dressed fellow who was jumped outside his shop by some rough-looking men in black armor. And one of the men happened to have a tattoo of a winged snake on his neck. They said their goodbyes, tried to find any evidence that was out in the streets, but since the encounter with the dark-clad men, Floon, and the other gentleman was 3 days ago, there wasn't a whole lot of evidence they could find in a busy city like Waterdeep. The PCs decide to head off towards the Skewered Dragon. They make their way through the dock ward to an alley that runs between Net Street and Fillet Lane, which wouldn't be very far from the old Zoblob shop. That's when they got their first look of the Skewered Dragon. All the front-facing windows busted out and had a ship's anchor lodged in the roof. So the group staggers in to the tavern. and the other three sit at a table near the locals playing cards and drinking. I think it was Karen, Varen, Xeris, Zindran, and Sadek all tried to talk to the bartender or the card players as a waitress flirts with the men that were in the group. The waitress takes their order, and they all order drinks, and Anvil orders a large plate of chicken wings. Anvil gets up, takes his chicken wings over to the group, playing cards, and he starts asking questions to the men about Volo and a man named Floon. The chicken wings seem to soften up the group, and the men began talking about what happened 3 nights ago. The men tell Anvil they saw Volo with Floon. Volo left, but Floon had stuck around long enough to meet up with another man, a friend, someone named Renar Neverember, who the party found out that there was the son of the previous Open Lord, Dagalt Neverember. More conversation happened, and some regulars were like talking about Renar Neverember as a chip off the old block, or just another spoiled rich noble. And then they try to dig a little deeper into what Floon and Renar were doing. The Galt Neverember was an Open Lord. Actually, was the previous Open Lord before Laral. So, the group, the men playing cards and drinking, talk about politics of Waterdeep and how there's an Open Lord and then a bunch of Mass Lords, and together they make decisions for the city. The PCs were also told that Floon and Renar left around midnight, and that the 2 men were followed by 5 men who were known to frequent a warehouse on Candle Lane. And as they were leaving, one of the men at the table said, "Look for the snake symbol on the door." And the PCs waved and headed out. The PCs headed to Candle Lane, followed a 2-story warehouse. The warehouse had a winged snake painted on the door above the door handle, just like the men warned. The warehouse had this outer yard that was behind a tall fence, and the warehouse doors were locked. The PCs had a brief conversation about going through the window or picking the lock on the warehouse doors. They had a rogue, so they decided that they wanted to go through the window, which was fine. They tried to unlock the window, but they did not have the skill necessary to do so. So they ended up going through the warehouse doors by picking a lock. There was obvious signs of struggle in the warehouse, and there were dead individuals laying on the ground. The PC spread out to search the first floor of the warehouse. They cautiously searched amongst the crates and boxes. 2 of the PCs are really perceptive. Actually, they're probably 2 of the most perceptive PCs that I've had in a long time. And they spotted several bird-like humanoids skulking about the boxes as they were, navigating through, searching for evidence. Really, Zindran and Sadek's perception scores that probably kept them from getting ambushed by the 4 bird-like humanoids that were still in the warehouse. Each of the bird-like humanoids was dispatched without a whole lot of conversation between either group. And with that, I believe Anvil, Karn, and Zindran all headed upstairs to the 2nd level to search the balcony. Up there, they find some offices, more boxes, and a crane. Anvil ends up in one of the offices alone, finds a folder marked messaging paper with a certain number of sheets of paper. I believe I indicated there were more sheets of paper than what the module actually says, but that's okay. It's fun to splurge a little bit. And then some of the PCs get a brief introduction to Renar Neverember. I believe combat was still going on when he was found, or he was found and then another combat ensued. So there wasn't a whole lot of questioning that happened. And other than he introduced himself as Renard Neverember, and I believe that's where we ended. There might have been a couple other people that went upstairs to check things out, but that was pretty much the end of the session. So, all in all, we actually had a brief discussion of, hey, what'd you like? Did you like it? Did you have fun? Whatever. Everybody indicated yes, they did, which was encouraging. So, and they've continued to reiterate that message through our Discord messages and emails and stuff. So, next session we'll pick back up on 8/11, and it will start exactly where we left off. They will be able to talk to Renar. They may be able to get to search the warehouse more. It just really depends. How much time do the PCs have to search the warehouse? That's the answer that we're looking for, and we'll figure it out on Thursday. So, thank you for staying to the end of this video. And if you liked it, hit subscribe, ring the bell, whatever you want to do. If not, leave a comment, tell me you didn't like it. It's fine. Doing this mainly for my players, and it's a way to log, I guess, is a good way, or make a historical record of the campaign, and to give them the information, recap information, so we don't really have to do it at the beginning of the next session. So, which I probably will, but it'll be very brief because I think all the players will end up watching this video. So, thank you for watching.